The problem may not be your muscles at all. And honestly, that's the part most people over 55 never hear. They wake up one morning and their legs suddenly feel older than the rest of their body. Walking upstairs gets harder. Standing up feels slower. Long grocery store trips start feeling like endurance events. Some people can describe it as their legs feeling heavy, like somebody secretly replaced their muscles with wet sand overnight. But here's the strange part. In many cases, the decline starts long before the pain does, long before a diagnosis, long before anyone says the word circulation. And after spending hours going through the studies and journals on this, I found something fascinating. Certain teas appear to support blood vessel function, muscle recovery, and walking endurance in ways most seniors completely overlook. Not miracle cures, not magical anti-aging drinks, but the evidence behind some of these compounds is much stronger than I expected. A lot of people think they're simply getting old, but several overlapping problems may actually be happening at once. Reduced circulation can absolutely play a role. So can chronic inflammation, lower activity levels, hormonal changes, poor recovery, and accelerated muscle breakdown. That combination quietly chips away at mobility until people start avoiding stairs without even realizing it. And the scary part is how gradual it feels at first. Most people don't notice until their confidence starts disappearing too. One study after another kept pointing towards the same pattern. Reduced circulation doesn't just affect the heart. It affects muscles, endurance, recovery, balance, walking speed, and overall independence. And once moving becomes harder, people move less, which accelerates muscle loss. It becomes a vicious cycle that feeds itself. That's why some seniors feel like they aged 10 years in 12 months. Now, before I show you the 3 teas that stood out most in the research, there's something important you need to understand. This isn't really about tea. It's about preventing mobility, because once walking ability starts declining significantly after 55, almost every other health problem becomes harder to manage too. The research on that is honestly pretty sobering. Slower walking speed has repeatedly been linked to worse long-term health outcomes in older adults. It doesn't necessarily mean slower walking directly causes those outcomes, but it's one of the clearest warning signs researchers consistently look at, because walking reflects what's happening throughout the entire body. And that's exactly why the first tea surprised me so much. Green tea may be one of the most underestimated circulation supportive drinks older adults can consume consistently. And yes, I know, green tea sounds predictable at this point. It's basically the kale of beverages. But after reviewing the evidence myself, I think a lot of people dismiss it too quickly because it sounds too simple to matter. Green tea contains compounds called catechins, especially EGCG, which researchers have heavily studied for vascular health and inflammation. In plain English, these compounds appear to help blood vessels function more efficiently. Better blood vessel function means better oxygen and nutrient delivery to muscles, and that matters far more than most people realize once they're in their 50s, 60s, and beyond. One thing I noticed while digging through the journals is that circulation problems don't always feel dramatic at first. A lot of people expect severe pain or obvious symptoms, but often it starts as reduced stamina, tired calves, slower recovery after walks, legs that feel weak for no clear reason. Sometimes the body whispers long before it screams. Several meta-analyses I reviewed found green tea consumption was associated with improvements in endothelial function. That's basically the health of the inner lining of your blood vessels. When those vessels become stiff or damaged over time, circulation suffers, and poor circulation means muscles receive less support during movement. Over years, that adds up. There's another layer here too. Chronic inflammation appears to contribute to age-related muscle loss. Green tea's antioxidant compounds may help reduce some of that oxidative stress burden. Now, to be very clear, this does not mean green tea magically rebuilds muscle overnight while you binge watch television holding a family-sized bag of cheese puffs. Biology remains stubbornly attached to reality, but the evidence does suggest green tea may help create a healthier environment for muscles and blood vessels to work together. And this matters because muscle is about much more than appearance. Muscle protects independence. Once leg strength declines enough, fall risk increases, balance worsens, walking confidence drops, and daily lift gets harder frighteningly fast. After reviewing the data, I genuinely believe maintaining lower body strength may be one of the single most important priorities for health aging. Now, before we get into the second T, let me quickly introduce myself because a lot of people watching may be new here. I'm Marcus, also known as a Wellness Watchdog. I have spent over 25 years as a research scientist, and you're watching Health Sense or Nonsense, where I separate facts from hype and break the studies down into plain English so you don't have to sit through a boring long lecture. The second tea honestly impressed me even more than green tea in some ways. Hibiscus tea. And no, this isn't one of those trendy detox drinks influencers suddenly claim changed their life 3 days after discovering it. The vascular research here is genuinely interesting. Hibiscus contains compounds that appear to support blood pressure regulation and blood vessel flexibility. Several studies have shown reductions in systolic blood pressure with regular hibiscus consumption, in some cases averaging around 7 to 10 points. And that matters because elevated blood pressure slowly damages blood vessels over time. Think of it like constantly running high pressure water through old plumbing. Eventually, the system becomes less flexible and less efficient. What really caught my attention is hibiscus may help support nitric oxide availability. Nitric oxide is incredibly important because it signals blood vessels to relax and widen. Better vessel dilation can improve circulation to muscles during movement. And when circulation improves, physical activity often feels easier and less exhausting. Quick reminder here, if you're getting value from this video, hit like and subscribe. I personally review the studies and journals myself, so you don't have to sort through all the misleading AI-generated health content flooding the internet. And while we're here, a quick medical disclaimer, because this part matters. If you take high blood pressure medication, blood thinners, anticoagulants, nitrate medications, or have kidney or heart conditions, talk with your doctor before increasing these T's. Even natural compounds can interact with medications or medical conditions, especially when circulation and blood pressure are involved. Now, the third T is the one that generally shocked me. Beetroot tea, or beetroot powder mixed into hot water. Technically not a traditional tea, but the vascular effects are too interesting to ignore. Beetroot is naturally rich in nitrates, which the body converts into nitric oxide, and nitric oxide may be one of the most important molecules involved in aging circulation that almost nobody talks about enough. Here's why that matters. Nitric oxide production tends to decline with age. Blood vessels become less flexible. Blood flow efficiently drops. Physical endurance drops too. Even walking speed can decline, partly because muscles receive less efficient oxygen delivery during activity. Several recent studies involving older adults found dietary nitrates may improve exercise efficiency and walking performance, although results vary depending on the population studied. And some findings are more modest than others. One study showed improvements in muscle power during physical activity. Another suggested nitrate supplementation may help improve walking endurance in certain older adults. The evidence isn't perfectly uniform, but the overall trend is still very interesting. What fascinated me most is how connected circulation and confidence actually are. Once people start feeling unstable or exhausted during movement, they unconsciously avoid activity. Then muscle loss accelerates, balance worsens, endurance declines further. It becomes a downward spiral that quietly steals independence over time. And no, I'm not claiming tea alone rebuilds muscle. If someone drinks beetroot tea while staying completely sedentary, the laws of physiology unfortunately continue to exist, no matter how motivational the thumbnail looked. The strongest evidence still supports combining these teas with walking, strength training, adequate protein, and sleep. But here's the encouraging part. Older adults can absolutely regain strength and endurance. One of the biggest myths I see online is that muscle loss after 60 is basically irreversible. That's simply not what the evidence says. Some neuro-resistance training studies in adults well into their 70s and even 80s showed surprisingly meaningful improvements in strength, mobility, and physical performance when training was consistent. And here's something I really want people to take away from this. Walking ability is one of the clearest windows into overall aging health. Walking requires coordination between circulation, muscles, nerves, lungs, joints, and the brain. When walking performance starts dropping sharply, the body is often signaling broader stress beneath the surface. That's why these teas matter less as miracle drinks and more as tools that may help support healthier aging systems overall. Green tea may support vascular function and reduce oxidative stress. Hibiscus may support pressure and circulation. Beetroot may improve nitric oxide availability and exercise efficiency. None are magic on their own, but together with movement, strength, training, adequate protein, and healthy habits overall, they may help people stay active and independent longer. And after going through all of this personally, my conclusion is pretty straightforward. The evidence supporting circulation health is far stronger than most trendy anti-aging wellness nonsense on social media right now. Healthy blood vessels support healthy muscles. Healthy muscles support mobility, and mobility supports independence. The connection is much deeper than most people realize. One final disclaimer before we wrap up. If you've had sudden weakness, chest pain, severe swelling, numbness, or rapidly worsening mobility, don't ignore it or try to self-diagnose from a YouTube video. Get evaluated by your personal medical professional. I'm Marcus, the Wellness Watchdog, and this has been Health Sense or Nonsense, where I dig through the research, filter out the hype, and break everything down into practical, plain English so you can focus on what actually matters. Journal links and studies are in the description below if you want to explore the evidence yourself. This video is for educational purposes only and is not medical advice. Wellness Watchdog out.